So this one should be working here when we, there we are. Okay, so that we should have audio. Now do I, oh super, it gives you a preview. That is pretty awesome. There we are, okay. So, alright, super, so we got the stream set up here. So then let's, okay, so we are all live here. So last time we had done, I guess I need to start this to see where we are. So for this project we're using yarn, so we're going to do yarn start, which will start the project. Last time we had, what did we do last time? We worked on some, the draggable columns was the thing we did last time. Yeah, that was pretty cool actually. And we have some basic draggable columns going, which is pretty cool, if I do say so myself. It's a nifty little feature there. Now, there's definitely some things we can improve about this. For example, one of the things we want to polish is a bit of the styling. So for instance, this is not great. For example, I don't think it needs this resize in here. So we can remove that. Let's remove the text from there. Let's make this button, let's give this button some interesting style. So what about if we did position absolute top 50, we have, we gave it a border. What about if we gave it a fixed width and a fixed height? So now you have a width and a height. I also want to rotate, which I believe is that's transform. And you would do transform, rotate, and then, yeah, there it is, rotate, except not 45 degrees. I would want that one, 90 degrees. It's a wonderful, wonderful interface, Chrome, in your DevTools. Good job with that. Now let's also do, what else? I do like that hover state. But that's a default button hover state. We're not going to mess with that quite yet. Let's do a pointer cursor. I think it has. Oh, it doesn't. Okay, so cursor. Pointer. There we go, to show that you can drag it. That is way too big, but I do kind of like that striped pattern. Now how were we going to do that? How do we make a striped pattern here? How do we make, I guess I could do, how do we make that striped? So we could do, I feel like I want to do a border, 2 pixels solid black, but I want to have a line in the middle also. So how do I have a line in the middle, a line on the left, a line in the middle, and a line on the right? I would make it 2 boxes is what I would do. I feel like there's probably an SVG way of handling this. suppose for now we can simply make this much smaller. Say height of 1 rem and a width of 6 rems. Height of 1 rem, a width of 6 rems. That's interesting though, because interesting though that when the width is oh, I see. Okay, because it's transforming around the midpoint, and there is position absolute. And this calc is assumed that the width is 6. That's assumed into the calculation there. Okay, I mean it's not great, but it is something. It's not great, but it is functional. And what I want right now is functional. So this is flyout control button. Transform 90 degrees right. Let's get rid of all these things, as well as this defined width for the flyout. And okay, super. All right, now let's get rid of some of these things. We can get rid of the class names. We're importing it twice. That was silly. Is flyout open? Set is flyout open. We can remove the on flyout button click. We can remove. Get rid of this. All right. So now, is there a that needs to have a minimum. You need to have a minimum width of 5. We'll say 550 is your minimum width. This would be if event.client client X is less than 550, return, and don't change anything. If the minimum width is less than 550, okay, what happens if it defaults? Yeah, this feature is only available on desktop. Okay. Feature is only available on desktop. Client width is less than 550. Return. I believe that should work. Let me refresh. Why are you beeping at me? Oh, gotta remove the resize. Text. this one, remove that one. Yeah. It would be nice to have a toast notifications. That's a nice feature to have. We'll add that to the feature request list. Toast notifications, that's a feature request list. Taking out the resize here. This 3 rems, this should really be this. 3 rems should really be a variable. That's getting into using Sass. Yeah, just store. Okay, but that's another thing. That's an improvement. All right. Get rid of resize. Get rid of resize in the messages. Resize, get rid of that. It's only used in the one spot. Yeah. Right? Yes, it's only used in the one spot. Okay, good. So, I mean, we got a basic handle going. You can resize it that much is how you can resize it. Now, but I would also want you, to be able to is that really the best user experience though? Because I want you to be able to resize it. However, I do want you to be able to get to full screen, which means I want you to, let me play around with this a little bit. So what if we take this out and then you resize it? Yeah, so here it should what should the content do here? I'm kind of curious, why is this overlapping? So why is this flyout? The content inside of the flyout is overlapping the more specifically all of the content, really. There's a flyout and there's a gradient, and it's interesting because the flyout has a width. What's the content inside flyout content? You have overflow would be what? Overflow auto when we did that not apply? I feel like that must not have applied. Overflow auto. Yeah, that's the thing I was expecting. Right. Which is not actually the behavior that I want. Right. That's not actually the behavior that I want to have happen here. So if you, let's say if your screen width is less than, let's say something 600, 550, whatever, then we basically want it to go to a mobile view. Okay, I want it to go to a mobile view, and I want what do I want? I want it to go to a mobile view. What if we do overflow hidden, which should clip the things behind it. Yeah. Then you can get it all the way to the end. You can also get yourself in a bunch of trouble here. Let's make, what if we expand the size of this? So what if your width is the height? Okay, let's consider this. So the width would be 100 viewport height, and we need to make sure that, what's your computed? Border radius? No. The property name is border box. Box sizing is the property name. The value is border box. I think border box is the one I want, because the other one is content box. I'm forgetting which one is which. Box sizing. Content box is how it was for a long time, and border box includes the stuff. What stuff specifically? Border box tells the browser to account for any border and padding in the values you specify for an element's width and height. So border box, super useful. I think I set that somewhere. Box X sizing. Okay. Where is that set exactly? The button has a border box. Oh, interesting. Okay. I think I want border box on everything, actually. So let's do that. Let's do that in an index.css. Body, everything in body. Box sizing, border box. Yes. Okay, so you then have a width of 100 viewport height. We transform you. A height of 1 rem. Okay. And your left minus, I want to say this is 50 viewport height, and then transform. Okay, it's not quite lined up. Interesting. It's close, but it's not quite. 633, which is the minus 50 viewport height, 668, 50% viewport height. So let's work on, let's take off this for a moment, take off the offset for a moment. Refresh. Let's change this one, the button flyout. Change the button flyout to a width of 100 viewport height. Okay. Aha, now that's interesting. So, do you have, okay, what do you have going on that is causing the scroll bar? How interesting. Flyout, position. When the flyout is absolutely positioned with a width of 100 viewport height, and when you are transformed, when you're rotated, your top is 50% of what? Fly out, you are absolutely right, you're absolutely positioned. You are absolutely positioned. You have a width of 100 viewport height. That's interesting. That's interesting that would not, how interesting. Okay. Because why does, let's refresh. Why does 100 viewport height, which should be this, let's go double check on what viewport height. Viewport height. Viewport height. The layout viewport within the layout is considered visually. Think of width and height media queries relative to the width and height of the browser window. They are actually relative to the viewport, which is the window in the main document, but is the intrinsic size of the element's parent in a nested browsing context like objects, iframes, and SVG. In CSS, we also have length units based on the viewport size. A viewport height unit is 1% of the layout's viewport height. a viewport height unit is 1% of the layout's viewport height. Okay. Interesting. All right, what if I do it as, I feel like it shouldn't matter. Like if I did width of 1 rem and then height of 100 viewport height. I wonder if it was something, I think it's something going on with the viewport height unit and transform. I think that's what was doing it. Yeah, okay, so we can simplify things here. So we can simplify it to this, which then gives, yeah, I like that better. I like the whole bar better. Right, okay, and then I know it's broken at small sizes. There's a left, which sets the size of the left area, and there is a control button, which is a whole thing. There you go. Okay, pretty good. So that's decent, not great, but decent for now. The next thing we're going to work on is, yeah, a better way to set the default width. Because, for example, I don't really love that I have this grab the wrapper.client width, and then divide by 2. I feel like, because wrapper is, what is wrapper part of? Wrapper is part of app. Yeah, so wrapper is part of app. So we could actually do, we could do a, I mean, we could do a forward ref. But does that really help us here? Because if you pass the forward ref, you still need to grab the client width from it, and when you right, so that, because that's not going to change. That's not going to change. Your default isn't going to change. I mean, I suppose I could change it to here and have that be a ref and be state in this one. It probably saves one document query selector lookup. Okay, I'll move it there. So use state, use ref, So what we're doing here is, so the point of doing this is to get rid of this document query selector wrapper lookup, because we already have, because I know where that is, and I can store that in a ref and pass it down to the component that needs it, rather than have this one reach out into the, or even I don't even need the ref. I simply need the initial client width of that. And so we would have something like, we can put maybe flyout on the bottom here and app on the top. Div class name wrapper ref would be, how about wrapper ref? And this would be wrapper ref equals use ref. You start as null, and so now we have wrapper ref, and then flyout gets a wrapper width, which is equal to wrapper ref dot current. And so wrapper width will either wrapper ref dot current is the, and here is where you would do, I think it's the other way, that way, is where you would do the optional chaining operator, because the thing we want is client width, but if client width, nope, I was right the first time, it's that way. If client width is not present, I want to return, if wrapper.ref is null, I don't want to try to access client width of null, because that's going to error on me. That'll blow up. So we do it this way. So wrapper width is either going to be a number or null. And is that the way I'd like to do it? Ideally, it would be better if this was always a number. So we can make this a so if it is something, use that. Otherwise, send 0. If it is a number, divide by 2. If it is a number, but otherwise that's going to be undefined, and you can't, I feel like undefined divide by 2 is at undefined divide by 2, yeah. No, I mean that would give me not a number, which I'm pretty sure if you put not a number in a Boolean context, yeah, it's falsy. Yeah, that's not something I want to rely on. That seems like trickery that is unnecessary. So I think the more verbose method of, if wrapper.current is, if wrapper.current.client width is yeah, I mean we can set this as a local variable. That's fine. It doesn't even need to be state. It can simply be a, because it never gets updated. Wrapper. This is initial wrapper width, or maybe let's call it default wrapper width. Default wrapper width starts out as wrapper width current dot client width. pass this as default wrapper width. You are default wrapper width if default wrapper width is a number instead of undefined, pass that number. Otherwise, pass 0. Let's actually put all this logic up here. If wrapper width.current.client width is defined, then do default wrapper width. Otherwise, do 0. Wrapper width.current.client width is a number, then send wrapper width.current.client width. If that is undefined, send 0. I mean, I suppose that could be inline, but I'm going to do it this way. So fly out, you get default wrapper width. Pardon. Here, and default wrapper width. So if we don't set width, starts as default wrapper width. Well, that is not what I wanted. Because initially, when this, initially it's null, and it gets assigned this ref, it's assigned after that has updated. Which means this is never getting updated. Which is, what do we want to do? Do I want to have the whole thing update? No, I mean, ideally you really would only make this update. I mean, and you would do default wrapper width. You would set it here. Oops, did I remember the divide by 2? No, wrapper width.current.client width divide by 2. So then, that is not the behavior I was expecting. Set width, default wrapper width. Wrapper width. Oh, I guess the app hasn't updated. Yeah, I guess the app hasn't updated. Which would be what? Which would be I mean, we could simply move this up here and have state up here. So we could have set default wrapper width and set default wrapper width. Use state starts as 0, and then instead of set width, it's set default wrapper width, and then the default wrapper width is and so this thing you would actually set inside here. There's the timer. Default wrapper width, which means I need use effect in here. Use effect. I mean, it's basically the same type of logic, but I simply moved it from one component to the other one. So what did I do incorrectly here? Set default wrapper width dot current. You should be updating default wrapper width. We are, yeah, okay. Right, so wrapper ref current client width current dot client C client width current dot client width. Let's put it in a watch. I'm not entirely sure why it's wrapper ref dot current dot client width 701. Okay. Divide by 2. Move this through, restart. 350.5. Set default wrapper width 350.5. You have some state. Well, it's not gonna It's not gonna show it to me there. But set, so default wrapper width is 0. So then if we go here, fly out, default wrapper width is 350.5. Oh, right. Because default wrapper width. Right, default wrapper width, because this has its own listeners that adjust the width. Pardon. This has its own listeners that adjust the. I think I might like the other approach better, actually. I think that much interaction with the document is probably fine for this. I'm going to go back to that other approach, actually. Let's remove all of this. All of this stuff. Remove all of this default wrapper width stuff. Go all the way back. Okay. We also don't need this ref, this wrapper ref, nor this, nor this. And in flyout, go back, 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 back. Yeah, with the query selector wrapper. Redo. No, undo. Redo. Right, don't need default wrapper width. I think we're going to leave it as is, actually. It would be nice to do perhaps 50%, but we need literally a number in there, so that's currently not something we can do. We could, but it's a little involved. I think we're fine with that. Let's change the width up there. Then we have a use effect. There's an input change handler. Listen for mouse move events. Keep track of the current mouse X position. Calculate the width of the flyout. We're not going with that for now. And update the width of the flyout. It is throttled. Clean up both event listeners. Add an event listener on the document for on mouse up, which sets is resizing to false, except we no longer have an is resizing. There's a resizing ref. So I wonder if this is possible to simplify. All right, but I think for right now that's going to be sufficient. I guess because the next thing to improve would be, is it possible to do this without adding the event list, without adding and removing the event listener every time? Because on mouse down, you add an event listener for mouse move. You add an event listener for mouse move that runs listener ref.current. Calculate and set width. If resizing ref dot current I'm not convinced these need to be added every time. On mouse down, we add an event listener for mouse move. Because I wonder if it could be something as simple as on mouse down, maybe something like is listening for move. Because this would be is listening for move, and then set is listening for move. Really the point of this is to avoid using these add or remove event listeners as much as possible. Set is listening for move, initially of false. So, because the thing you need to do is on mouse down, you set is listening for move to true. And these would be in a use effect that runs only once. We would add a mouse move listener. On mouse down, you set the is listening for move to true. You set the is listening for move to true. In the listener ref dot current resizing. I guess that's what this is listening for move is doing. When you mouse down, so if the mouse move event listener is already on there, on mouse down, you resizing ref current to true, which on a move will cause the listener ref current to run, which is calculate and set, which is the throttle to calculate and set with. We flip the resizing ref current to true, which means it would run it. And then on mouse up, we would run the cleanup function, which we need to define out here. On mouse up, we would run the cleanup function, but only for a mouse up when resizing ref current is true. So if resizing, that's not how you spell that. If resizing ref current is true, continue. So if resizing ref current is false, return. If resizing ref current is false right now, that means we're not resizing and there was a mouse up, immediately return. If resizing ref current is true, that means we were dragging it around. Immediately set resizing ref current to false, and then we don't need to remove the event listener for the listener ref because we have guard clauses in there. These are guard clauses. And the remove event listener for cleanup we don't need to do because there is a use effect. And so here we could return when this component unmounts, we would run some cleanup logic, which is instead of add event listener, these would be remove event listener. The mouse up, mouse move, and mouse up for listener ref current. Pardon. listener ref current and cleanup, which simplifies a lot of this, and I don't actually need that state, so we can remove that state. That was not the right approach for here. And listener ref does not need to be a ref. Listener ref can be throttled, calculate, and set with. Throttled, calculate, and set with, and you go to both of these. That's a const. Missing dependency. Yes, it is. Throttled, calculate, and set. Oh, okay, I see. You're saying, yeah, okay, I see why you're saying that, because that would get re-declared every time that effect runs, but the effect's only going to run once. Yeah, there we go, that's fine. Okay, so if I thought through all that logic correctly, this should still be working. Hey, looks like I did. That's super. Cool. Nice. Okay. So we can get rid of all this stuff. We can simplify this vastly. We can get rid of all these things, as well as this, and only add event listener after mouse down on handle. We're adding the event listeners, adding and removing the two event listeners once, and then immediately returning from the function if it's not relevant for them. And then we can get rid of this other listener. So we have the resizing ref and a button ref. Where is the button ref used? I don't think that's used anywhere. Right, yeah, there you go. Right, that's better, okay. No errors, yeah, good, okay. So get rid of this, super, and this, get rid of that, get rid of that one. Okay, much better. So the next task, not for today's session, but the next task would be to add tests for the resizing, which we will add to our feature list. Change to a grab handle with a resizable column. We did that. So this is add resizable handle tests. Yeah, super. Yeah, I think this is a very good commit point. Probably too much, actually. Flyout control, add resizable handle tests, input validation. We adjusted the CSS, adjusted how the component, refactored the component logic. Yeah, super. Okay, so this is resizable flyout, add, and commit. This is adds resizable handle. It's actually adds resizable column handle. Adds resizable column handle. Super. Resizable flyout. Let's push origin resizable flyout. Get push origin resizable flyout. Yes. All right. That's it for this session. We'll see you next time. Bye.